Thank you, Roger, and good evening. I'd like to talk briefly about, and sort of piggyback on Phil's introduction, talk about the existing redevelopment plan, which, as some of you may know, I actually authored that plan on behalf of the town. That plan is now over 10 years old. And as Phil had indicated in his slides, that plan basically includes, in addition to the site that we've been talking about this evening, includes properties which front on both sides of Spring Street as you go down from Morris Street down to Water Street. And by the way, that portion of the plan was the initial phase of the plan, which at the time was focused principally on residential use. And if you can kind of put yourself back in time, I think this plan was originally dated back to 2007. Residential was basically driving the market at the time. And while we all recognized that the existing shopping center use was not a long-term option for such a strategic downtown site, to be perfectly frank, we were in essence kicking the can down the road a bit in terms of what would be the ultimate use and building form for this particular site, meaning the Midtown Shopping Center property. In fact, as I recall, we had amended the plan at least once and possibly twice. And in addition, this property was sort of phase 4 of 4. So I think what also got in the way was the post-2008 Great Recession, which I think had an effect in terms of this plan not being fully implemented. However, I think from my perspective, there are two takeaways from the plan which I think are relevant in the current context. First, we thought that the shopping center property would actually be best designated for other than residential use, which I thought was interesting because residential was driving everything at the time, but as part of the entire plan, residential was basically taking up the bulk of the other sites as you went down towards Water Street, Center Street. So we had designated this property for office and/or a hotel. And to be quite candid with you, the office market wasn't there yet. It just wasn't there yet. We didn't, back in 2007, 2008, have potential Fortune 500 companies knocking on our door looking to relocate to downtown areas. And in fact, the concept that we're all dealing with today of live, work, play really hadn't quite taken hold yet. It quite hadn't evolved yet. So in essence, we did think, despite the fact that we didn't have users at the time, we did see the site as something other than residential. Again, office hotel, and basically office being the driving force of this concept would be consistent with the plan for this particular site. Secondly, we thought back then, interesting, that the site could actually support buildings of up to 8 stories. And especially given the fact that this property, as Phil laid out for you in his introduction, is at a markedly lower elevation than much of the downtown core. There's several other thoughts that I'd like to share with you about this property. And number one, I think it is actually really quite unique in the context of downtown Morristown. And I say that not only because it's a gateway site, which is basically adjacent to the train station, but it's over 4 acres. It's an over 4-acre redevelopment site. I don't know of any other redevelopment tract as large as 4 acres in downtown Morristown where you basically have a blank canvas. You have a blank canvas to redevelop this property. You can do something distinctive without disrupting an established neighborhood fabric, which exists basically within a particular downtown block or downtown blocks. And as I understand your form-based zoning, which is adopted for the downtown, that was put in place to basically protect that existing neighborhood, downtown context, and fabric. Here you have 4 acres where you can do something special. I think the fact that the property's in a redevelopment area also allows the town to devise a discrete set of redevelopment standards which would be tailor-made to reflect this unique development opportunity. And my own experience with redevelopment plans all over in many municipalities, they get amended. They basically get amended all the time. I'd also say that while the major goals and objectives of the plan, which again I authored and Phil put up on the screen, I think they continue to be realized as part of the current concept, but obviously that plan would need to be modified, and it would need to be modified, I think, in some very positive ways. It would need to be modified to increase the building setback, to basically provide for the pedestrian amenities and the public space and public plaza space that we've shown you as part of the concept, together with the ground floor retail. It would be amended so that the parking structure is tucked to the rear, basically up until the sloped area, and wouldn't be visible from the public view shed. It would basically provide for the roadway improvements, which you just heard about, which are really designed to address a long-term traffic problem in downtown. And I think it would provide, as you heard from basically the developer, for suitable building floor plates, which are basically designed to attract these corporate office users who are now looking, after all these years, to basically locate in downtown areas in appropriate sites which are actually proximate to transit and services and restaurants and amenities. The other thing I note, as we're all aware, Morristown in the last 10 or 15 years has really seen a tremendous amount of new residential development. I was involved at the beginning of that. The interesting about this project, it would basically provide a major new employment opportunity, and it would provide that opportunity in close proximity, in some cases walking distance, from some of the new housing that has been either built or approved in Morristown. And it would also generate hundreds of jobs and employees that would support downtown businesses during critical daytime, weekday daytime hours. So bottom line, however, in order to basically move forward, we would need to amend the plan in the ways that I noted in order to effectuate this concept. And we certainly would look forward to working with the town to advance this concept in that regard. Thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes our presentation. We really thank you for giving us the time to honor our business.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to open up the public hearing portion of our meeting tonight. If there are any members of the public wishing to be heard, please come before us, state your name, address, and try to keep your comments to under 5 minutes. Seeing no public comments, I'll close the public hearing. All right, so at this time, I'm just going to, the council members, I'm going to allow the developers an opportunity to, well, you close your piece, I'm sorry, we don't have the public comment, I'm sorry. I'll turn it over to, I was expecting to see a lot of public tonight. It was such a big project. Sorry, I'm a little half asleep today.
Morristown.